YouTubers? This is DVD Collector 1986 here with a new video. Next month is October, the beginning of the holidays, and I love Halloween. I like watching scary movies, so I really enjoy all the holidays, but I really enjoy the month of October because I watch scary movies all month long. So that being said, we're going to get into this collection update. And there's a lot of scary movies in this update. A lot of stuff I've upgraded to 4K. I'm off to a really good start as far as purchasing scary films. I've got a really good head start. So let's get into it. First, there's a few documentaries here. This is Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, the Robert Englund story. I'm not usually one for slipcovers, but the artwork is different on the case, so I kept the slipcover for this, and it was in pretty good shape. I really enjoy this documentary. There's a similar documentary about Kane Hodder that's called To Hell and Back, and it's basically the same kind of documentary, only it's about Kane Hodder. So I'll say this: if you enjoyed the Kane Hodder documentary, most likely you will enjoy this. Here's another documentary, again slipcover, but the artwork is different. This is Pennywise, the story of it. This is a feature-length documentary all about the making of the movie It, not the two remakes, the original TV miniseries that came out in 1990. Tim Curry is in this, and a bunch of the other actors who were in the movie and people who worked behind the scenes as well. Really interesting documentary. I love documentaries. I love scary films, so I had to pick this up. This is another documentary. This is originally a Shudder original. This is Horror Noir. It says A History of Black Horror. It's about the history of African Americans in horror films, and just all about the history of that subject. Really interesting, really interesting documentary, and very well done. There's interviews with a lot of different people in here, but one that really stuck out to me was Tony Todd. Everybody who has seen scary films knows him as Candyman, from the original Candyman. I really enjoyed the bits of this documentary with him, and this documentary, like I said, was just really interesting overall, and I'm glad to have it in the collection. Here's another documentary. I went ahead and got the DVD of this because it was so much cheaper than the Blu-ray. Maybe I'll upgrade this sometime down the road. But I really enjoyed this documentary. It's really well done, and this is called Smoke and Mirrors, the story of Tom Savini. He is a special effects guy, really, really good at his job. He's done the gore and blood effects for Dawn of the Dead from 1978. He also worked on Friday the 13th, the first film, and also Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and many, many more films. He's also an actor, and he directed the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. Very talented man, very interesting documentary. He basically tells his whole life story, and if you're a fan of documentaries, definitely I would recommend checking this out. Now, this is not scary movie related or anything like that. This is just a regular documentary. I kind of knew about this story, not from the movie Jaws, like everybody else heard. Everyone that's seen Jaws remembers the sequence where Quint tells the story of the Indianapolis, and that's awesome. I'm glad that people who did not know that story were aware of it from watching that film. However, I first heard about this story from my grandfather, who was a U.S. Navy veteran. He was in the Navy for 20 years. And I heard the story from him, and I was like, did this, really happen? I had heard, this is before I saw Jaws, I had heard that people had mentioned the scene where Quint gives the speech about the Indianapolis, and my grandfather started telling me the story, and I was like, whoa, this story really is true. And my grandfather looked at me without missing a beat and said, not only is it true, he said, the true story is far more brutal than the truncated, abbreviated version that was told by Quint's character in Jaws. He wasn't knocking the movie. He was just saying that the real story was far more brutal than the abbreviated version that was presented in the movie Jaws. And I said, you know this story? And he said, very well, I do. And he said, because he was in the Navy, he said that everyone in the Navy knows this story, and it's legendary. And anyway, the documentary is called USS Indianapolis: The Legacy. This is about what happened to the ship, the Indianapolis, and also what happened to all of the crew. And I'm not going to spoil the story. I could talk all day about this documentary and what happened with this. It's a very interesting story, a very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, true story, but very interesting. But I won't ruin it for you. You just take it from me. This is something that everyone should see at least once. And it's a true story. And if you don't have tears coming out of your eyes when that documentary is over, then I don't know what to tell you. It'll get to you. Now, as a companion piece, this is not a documentary, but they made a movie based on the Indianapolis incident, and it stars Nicolas Cage, Tom Sizemore, and a bunch of other actors. And this is called USS Indianapolis: Men of Courage. Very well done movie. I actually wish that this movie was a little bit longer, but it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it, and even though this is a movie made with actors, this movie is makes a very good companion piece to the documentary. And as far as I know, there's a couple of other documentaries about that incident, but these two, this movie and this other documentary I just showed, are the two big ones. There's not a whole lot of movies and documentaries about the Indianapolis, but if you want to know about that event in history, what happened with that, I highly recommend these two movies. This movie and this documentary that I just showed. I highly recommend these two. So let's see what else I have. Next up, I have the movie The Flash on Blu-ray. I will definitely get the 4K version later on and make my own combo pack with this Blu-ray. But I really enjoyed this movie. Don't buy into all the negative stuff surrounding this movie. I'll say this: despite how you may feel about Ezra Miller and what he did, if you can set that aside, if you can separate the art from the artist, you just might be able to enjoy this movie. And on top of everything else, if you don't like Ezra Miller, there's a lot of him in this movie. However, Michael Keaton, for me, was the big draw to this movie. He played Batman in the 89 Batman movie and in Batman Returns, the 2 Tim Burton films, and that was it. He walked away from it. But they managed to get him to come back to play Batman in this movie. So now Michael Keaton can claim that he has played Batman in 3 different movies. I really enjoyed this movie. It is loosely based upon the Flashpoint Paradox Flash comic book storyline, and of course they made a few changes. They took a few liberties because this is a movie, so it's not exactly like the comic book storyline, but it shares a lot with it though, and I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. And like I said, if you are avoiding this movie because of Ezra Miller, watch it for Michael Keaton. And I'll just say this: there are a few scenes in this movie that I actually got emotional watching. If you've seen this movie, you probably will know what scenes those were. There's I'll take it back. There was 3 scenes in particular that really got to me, and I was not expecting that to happen. Rarely have I ever watched a comic book movie that has made me emotional, and this movie definitely did that a few times. Highly recommend it. I've got a TV show here on Blu-ray, The Walking Dead, Dead City. This stars, it's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and it has Lauren Cohen in it. And obviously, if you're familiar with the original Walking Dead, it has Negan and Maggie, respectively, to their respective roles. They're both in this show. And if you're familiar with the original Walking Dead, they were basically sworn enemies. I'm not going to ruin The Walking Dead if you haven't seen it. Something happened between them in the first show that made them enemies. And the interesting thing here is that they have to come together as allies, sort of, to complete a mission. They're looking for Maggie's son, who was taken to Manhattan, of all places, except this is the post-zombie apocalypse version of Manhattan. Yes, the artwork for this is just season 1. There's only 1 season. It's 6 episodes long, so it's not that long. I watched it in a day. A really good show. I really enjoyed it. It's slower paced than the later seasons of the original Walking Dead show. That's what made The Walking Dead kind of lose its luster. It started out kind of slow paced and let everything build, and then everything got real fast paced in the later seasons. Well, this show kind of goes back to that slow pace. A lot of the people that worked on this season of this show were people who worked on the first few seasons of the original Walking Dead. So I really enjoyed this. And because these 2 characters are enemies, it's interesting to see them form an alliance of sorts, but they still don't trust each other. And to see them team up and like what's going to happen with that. And it was really interesting seeing that unfold in this show. But I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to future seasons. I just hope they don't drag out this show for 11 years like they did with the original Walking Dead. But this season was really strong, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely recommend that. Another movie I got on Blu-ray, Evil Dead Rise. This is the latest Evil Dead movie that takes place in a high-rise building. Really enjoyed it. This movie's really bloody, really graphic. Some people, it might be too much gore for them, but if you're familiar with this franchise, the Evil Dead franchise, that's kind of what these movies are known for. But I thought the story was interesting. I really enjoyed the characters, and I really enjoyed this movie. And as much as I like having the character of Ash in these movies, played by Bruce Campbell, these movies can work without his character in them. But he's still involved behind the scenes with these. So, but I really enjoyed this movie. This is a really good follow-up to the Evil Dead movie that came out a few years ago. That was sort of a remake, but not really. This tonally matches up to that movie, and it's a worthy follow-up. And I like the fact that it takes place in a high-rise apartment building. Really interesting setting for this kind of story. Next, now the rest of these, except for one, you're going to notice a trend here. I've been upgrading a lot of Shout Factory titles to 4K, and I've been getting some other Shout Factory titles on regular Blu-ray. I'm trying to build up my Shout Factory collection. So this is getting a 4K release, but I went ahead and stuck with the Blu-ray on this one. Night of the Comet. This is a horror film from 1984. So it's it's been around a while. And I really enjoyed this. It's a bit cheesy, it leans a little into the comedy a little bit. It's an apocalypse type of movie with zombie-like creatures in it, but don't take it too seriously because it's kind of tongue-in-cheek at the same time. However, I did enjoy it, and I probably will not be upgrading this one to 4K. I don't like it enough to get the 4K, but I'm glad to have this in the collection. And definitely it is a classic movie. I've heard people talk about this one, so it's pretty good. Let's see here. Okay, and then I upgraded this, The People Under the Stairs. This is the 4K edition. Most of these movies I had. I just upgraded them. I'll let you know which ones are new to the collection, but this was an upgrade. Really enjoy The People Under the Stairs. I remember watching that movie as a kid and really being scared by it because the thought of being a kid stuck in a house with a bunch of weirdos like the main character is in this movie really freaked me out. Next, Dead Silence. This is a Shout Factory Collector's Edition 4K. This is a new title to the Shout Factory library. They just got the rights to this movie to distribute it. So I had this on a regular Blu-ray, but when I heard Shout Factory was doing a 4K version, I had to get this. If movies about ventriloquist dummies freak you out, definitely give that one a try if you haven't seen it. It's pretty scary. I want to say it came out in let me see here. 2007. Yeah, I was going to say 2007. So considering it came out in 2007, it's a pretty good movie. Pretty scary. Might be too scary for some people. I don't know. This is an upgrade. So I had the regular Shout Factory Blu-ray of this, and I upgraded it. The original Candyman. I really enjoy this movie. This came out in 1992, and I'm a big fan of Tony Todd. Like I said, he was in that documentary I mentioned earlier, and he was Candyman, obviously, in this movie, and he also played the character of Ben in the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. I'm a huge fan of Tony Todd. He's awesome. And I really enjoy this movie. The remake is pretty good as well, but you're never going to be able to beat this movie. So, had to get that one for sure. Another upgrade, The Burning on 4K, another classic camp slasher from the 1980s. And who can forget that raft scene? Wow. Just really good movie. And I'll show that one last because that's not a Shout Factory title. Here's another Shout Factory title. I upgraded this, The Exorcist Part 3. Really enjoyed this movie. There are 3 discs in this set, in this release, and it is loaded with extras. I mean, a lot of extras. Starring George C. Scott. Most people know him from the movie Patton and The Changeling. But I really enjoyed this movie. The second Exorcist movie isn't that great. But this movie is truly the sequel to the first Exorcist, even though this is the third film. If you watch The Exorcist and then watch this, they match up quite nicely. And this is a follow-up to the original Exorcist film. So really enjoyed that, so I had to upgrade that. And then I have Bride of Chucky. This is a new addition to the Shout Factory library. Had to get it. It's a 4K, and this is one of my favorite Chucky films. And a movie that I like even more than that one is Curse of Chucky. This one was actually really scary. This movie is really good, but it does kind of lean into the whole comedy side of things. But it doesn't do it too much. It does it just enough. But if you want a just straight up scary Chucky movie, go for this one. Really scary. The atmosphere of this movie, the setting of the old house. Most of the movie takes place in this old spooky house. I just love this movie, and I remember when I first saw it, when it first came out, I loved it. So when I heard Shout Factory was putting out a 4K of this one, I had to get this one too. So, and this is just a Blu-ray, a 4K release that was put out by Warner Brothers. This is the first time on 4K release for The Exorcist. This is the original film, and from 1973. Now, it does not come with a Blu-ray included. It's not a combo pack. So if you get this, if you're getting this to upgrade it, keep your Blu-ray edition. Whatever edition of this movie you have on Blu-ray, go ahead and keep it, because this does not come with the Blu-ray included. There's 2 4K discs in here. One is for the theatrical version, and the other one is for the extended director's cut, I believe is what it's called. But there is no Blu-ray in here. So if you want to have this movie on Blu-ray as well as 4K, keep your previous Blu-ray edition, even if you do decide to get this. And I haven't checked that 4K out yet, so I can't report on how good the picture quality is. But I am looking forward to watching that in October for sure. That should do it for this video. I really appreciate y'all watching. If you made it this far to the end, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed seeing the movies that I got this month. And I think I'm off to a good start for scary movies for leading into October. I'm going to buy a bunch more movies next month, hopefully, in October. And I'll have even more stuff to show then. But like I said, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks.